welcome to this week's episode of the Comic Watchers Show, number 61. Hello, I'm your host, Matt, coming at you from Oklahoma City, and with me, as ever, are Nick Osborne and Mike Eakins, fellow Comic Watchers par excellence, also known as Men with Beards. Gentlemen, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
We've got an awesome show for you this week. We're talking about Star #1 from Marvel. We're talking about Batman 86 from DC. But first, as ever, we're going to talk about a little bit of news. What's been happening in the world of comics this week, Mr. Mike Eakins, a.k.a. Scoop Johnson?
The world of comics, pretty busy. But just to kind of go on the whole Star thing, Captain Marvel is going to celebrate her 150th issue with a special Boss Logic cover. They're going to end the last Avenger arc with this cover, so kind of cool. That's on the website. If you're not familiar with Boss Logic's stuff, definitely check it out. He's really good. Really good stuff to check out. On the DC spectrum of things, Diana, Princess of the Amazon, it's their new mid-grade novel. Excuse me, which is on the site as well. They released an infographics, kind of a cute thing to go with the book. It's how to raise an Amazon. So it's like, how to love the kids and, be cool and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. Check it out. Boom Studios. This is a personal favorite. Slaughterhouse 5 is getting a graphic novel due out September of 2020. Excuse me. By Ryan and Albert Montez. Yeah, I was pretty excited when I saw this on the site myself. Definitely anything Vonnegut on a personal level that I can scoop up, no pun intended, that I can get my hands on. This will be no different, really cool. Excuse me. Dark Horse, and on the IDW front as well. So Dark Horse, Jeff Lemire is expanding once again the Black Hammer universe. With Colonel Weird and Cosmogog. The Black Universe is pretty expansive. He has been doing this right around since 2016, I believe. And it's been a different, he's been expanding with different stories from the characters from the base comics. Done pretty well. It's pretty good stuff. I've read a few. I'm not that well versed, but what we have previewed on the site with Colonel Weird looks pretty good, so it's definitely worth a check out. And on the coolest news, I think, IDW and the Smithsonian Institution have teamed up with a multi-year global publishing program, which is going to create a ton of graphic novels in their tradition of, they call this enemy from George Takei. Now, not all of it's going to be, as deep as, they call this enemy, but it's going to be, educational along with the Smithsonian. IDW does great stuff with their collected work. So this should be really cool and definitely something to keep your eye on. Pretty rad. And just to wrap it up, we got some sneak peeks. Marvel's Star Wars Darth Vader 1. They continue to re-release the Star Wars titles, but which are always good, always addictive. First look, Batman 87 is on the website. And real quick, as we wrap up some news and head into the week of you-know-who, hoping to start a little internal fury here. I don't know who has been more on fire, if you will. Is it going to be the press department or the media team? Because both have really been just knocking stuff out of the park. A lot of good press coming out, especially the media team with He-Man, Avengers, Batman, the animated series. Tons of great content coming on the website. Maybe we can do like a battle royale or something like that. The press team versus media. I'm game for it.
Build your bracket, baby.
Exactly. If Obama can do brackets, Comic Watch can do brackets.
Damn right. Damn right. So, Mike, was there anything from? Nick, go ahead.
Excuse me. I did just see as a part of the news. I wasn't sure if we're going to cover it or not. About 30 minutes ago, Scott Derrickson posted on social media that he has exited the Doctor Strange movie. It's like Madness into the Multiverse or something like that.
Now, this is the director, correct?
That is correct. He is the
Oh,
one who did he helmed the initial film, and apparently he has creative differences with Marvel, so he has stepped out of the film.
Not the first time a director has stepped away from a Marvel movie for creative differences with Feige, etc. He thinks if you are not on their train, you need to get out of the way.
Yes. This one was tasked with bringing in the multiverse, as you might know from the title with Marvel, so there's a lot hanging on it.
Yeah? Oh, big time.
Yeah, that's actually pretty huge because, I mean, made pretty good money. It's definitely a character that's going to get tons of fans to flock and putting seats and stuff like this. So that's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on, because this is not just a like a graphic novel that was written 10 years ago, and someone's picked up a script and they're like, oh, I'm going to make a movie out of a comic book. So this is going to be very interesting to see how they acquire a new creative team and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it goes, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, Mike, was there anything interesting from the week in Liefeld to talk about this week?
There was one. I was going to comment because I went down a rabbit hole, and there's actually Twitter groups that are so anti-Rob Father that it's not even fun. Like, and I understand the guy's made some bad decisions, but I refuse to give them any type of recognition, by name and stuff like that. But
for sure.
The one that really kind of stuck out, and I was talking to one of our own, Ross, back and forth on Twitter earlier, is Rob tweeted out, excuse me, comics of today are not in a resurgence of creativity. Most are just endless talk fest. Bronze Age through 99 is the sweet spot era. Now, maybe with Marvel and DC, because we get a #1 and a reboot every summer and something's getting retconned, I see maybe on that where he's talking about. But as far as being the sweet spot era for me, especially with Image, IDW, Boom, especially Dark Horse, a lot of these indie companies are just coming out with some really, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff, be it superhero, be it non-superhero, dealing with social justice, dealing with current issues, whatever. But as far as that, the Bronze Age through 99 and, the sweet spot just kind of stopped, it's almost like he was sitting in his room kind of going, how could I, and pardon my language for all the young comic watchers out there, but how could I piss off comic fans? And how could I just spin up social media? But yeah, and there's a good discussion that that Ross had that we were kind of going, and some people other chimed in, but I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. But just to say that pretty much comics, the sweet spot stopped at 99. I mean, there's been a lot of great stuff post 99, a lot of great stuff. I mean, even with all the retcons and all the rebirths and Captain America is now the Falcon is the Hulk and all that stuff, and Wonder Woman is Batman. We get that stuff, but just to say that it all stopped in 99 is kind of irresponsible. And as we, I think it was Carlos that we were talking about, maybe your writing style stopped in 99, and that's kind of, maybe you're the old, the old man that's screaming, get off my lawn type of guy. Rob, I love you, but you are definitely the get off my lawn guy as far as comics are going. And yeah, I mean that in the nicest, non-mean way, but he is definitely that guy, with the cane and the walker with the tennis balls on the bottom of comics.
That's just one step away from being the old man that yells at a cloud. So
exactly, right.
Like
the old guy
from now, this is what we have to look forward to. I can't help but notice that he says good comics stopped right as his career was peaking. No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a coincidence there or not. Sort of a one-to-one thing. Yeah, whatever. We
A lot
love
of
you.
nostalgia in that tweet.
A lot of
We
nostalgia,
do.
a lot of trolling. So it goes.
Yeah.
Rock is just silly.
But that's the news, Mr. Matt. We throw it back to you.
Yes. Cool. Well, let's talk about our books of the week, gentlemen. We're going to start off with a Marvel book, Marvel #1. No stranger to #1s, them. Star, #1 of 5, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Javier Pina and Felipe Andrade. It tells the story spinning out of Thompson's current Captain Marvel run, introducing a new, going to definitely go with villain, at least for now. I'm not sure if I think she's poised to turn good, but she has a reality stone, the Infinity Gem, lodged in her chest, and she's massively powerful and has a pretty cool little intro in the Captain Marvel book. Captain Marvel literally punches a hole in her, and it doesn't kill her. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot to grapple with. Good guy, bad guy, I don't care who you are. So Star, Marvel's is rolling the dice and putting a lot of faith in Kelly Thompson that she's struck gold with this character and rolling her out in her new #1. Nick, buddy, what do you think about Star #1?
Okay, so yeah, I've been waiting on this one for quite a while. So I'm gonna go way back with it. War of the Realms. Captain Marvel was a leader of the strike force for War of the Realms. So she was on this mission basically 24/7, handling all these different missions and coordinating all these teams who were fighting the war. And at the end of her tie-in to the War of the Realms, she pretty much does the classic Hollywood sickness cue and coughs blood into a rag. And you find out something is like terribly wrong. So we pick up on that in her main series in Captain Marvel, and we find out that her powers are basically draining, and there's this new hero, Star, local area, who is saving the day and basically stealing Captain Marvel's thunder. And this ties in with some personal issues and emotional trauma that Carol's dealing with, so she really spirals downhill, and you tie back into this almost become a trope, but this personal reflection of Carol because of her powers being siphoned. Rogue has a huge impact on that. So it's this personal note that Star basically is introduced under. And she's the villain of that arc. So you're introduced to Star as this villain, and as Matt kind of bluntly said, you end with her having a hole punched in her chest. And this is essentially Carol ripping out the device that is siphoning her powers and giving them to Ripley, who is Star. And that is essentially the end of that story. So then we have a new #1 spinning out of that. And I was so excited to see this because this is how you want a new character to be introduced, right? I mean, it's a long story that's tied in with Marvel's universe, and it's an original story that I think bears that weight really well. So you get the same writer, Kelly Thompson, to spin off this new #1 story, and she just nails it. The story flows seamlessly. The first page is exploring the the PTSD of that event of her having her chest punched open, and she kind of wakes up in a nightmare from it. And I really loved almost everything about this issue and how it explores the character's trauma, introduces her, and uses the reality stone to kind of ground the character and give her powers and help set her in the Marvel universe. But it also brings in a lot of other characters in it. Like, spoiler alert, we have Loki coming in, Jessica Jones, and then the cool cliffhanger with the Scarlet Witch. This is what I want to see out of a new character. I mean, you set her firmly in the universe and see how she impacts all these other characters' lives, and that kicks off the story. So immediately I'm like ready for the next creative team outside of Kelly Thompson on what they can do with this character, because they've got a foundation set that's just so great. What I didn't really like is we still don't know what her motivation is. What is Ripley doing here? Is she a villain like we saw in Captain Marvel? Because it doesn't feel like it, but I think she's gonna turn hero. It seems like that's what the trend is. She's still figuring out her place. And that's kind of where we're at as readers, just figuring out like who this character is. And the first issue didn't really go into that much. We certainly care about her because it does have a lot of heart, but there wasn't much to say, you know, this is the motivation of Ripley or Star, and this is, you know, where she's going, this is her trajectory. So definitely loved it and on board for so much more, but, you know, I would have liked to see more, like maybe internal monologue for the character. And I know that's kind of overdone these days, but it would have been nice to see what, you know, what she's feeling in these emotions, or what she's feeling in this state, and where she's going to go next. But Matt?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I guess I didn't hear you. I thought you were just going to pass it to Mike. My bad. Mike, what do you think about Star #1?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was something that, you know, coming from the pages, as Nick said, is, you know, Captain Marvel. Once we got that first introduction through the interview, for those of you kind of keeping up with Captain Marvel, you know, with the Ripley thing, you know, they're essentially, Star and Ripley are two different people. You know, Ripley is that person that you can kind of see listening to Sarah McLachlan sitting at a Starbucks. And then when she's Star, you know, and she's like just completely being brutal, like her soundtrack is definitely like Cradle of Filth type stuff, right? But with Kelly Thompson, I mean, she is just so rad. I mean, she really dives into the character and kind of gives you that, kind of as Nick was saying, it was like, well, is she good? Is she bad? You almost kind of get like a feel, but not a full-blown on sense of an internal struggle. I felt this first issue is a complete blank slate for Kelly Thompson to pretty much do what she wants to do with Star. It was a great first issue to kind of, you get the introduction, post-introduction, like we already know, even if you don't follow Captain Marvel and you already, you know, you may not know who Ripley/Star is, I don't think you really need to go too far back, especially I think issue 10, you know, all the way to issue 1 with the interview. You can just kind of pick this up. But I really do think Star deserves almost her own series, just because there is a lot to tell here. There is a lot to tell between, does she want the struggle of, could she be good? I don't know. But honestly, I don't think I would, I don't want to say I wouldn't like this book as if she would kind of turn good. But I think Star being that full-on, pardon my French once again for the young comic watchers, the young, just that badass, overpowered badass that she is, like Marvel needs this villain type of deal, you know, just that woman that is just kind of the opposite of what Carol is. And that would be a great kind of yin and yang to kind of go with what's going on right now, you know. There are some things, you know, like the Loki thing, and it was okay, you know. I don't think it would have necessarily changed the story if they weren't in there, you know. But I also think that there is that struggle. There is some questions that I would like answered. But you know, we got 5 issues. We got that time to kind of build, and in the hands of Kelly Thompson, I'm completely confident by issue 2 or 3, we're going to get some of those questions answered. And then by the time this series kind of wraps up, we're going to want an ongoing series of Star, you know, especially if she continues on to be, like I said, that opposite of Carol, and just continues just to, you know, if she has that stone still in her, I mean, this could go really anywhere, you know, it really could. And then you see, you know, the interaction between her and Loki, where he's like, "Oh, I'm the king of the frost giants." So we're already starting to see the newer kind of integration of her moving forward with, like, you know, Thor #1 and all that stuff. But yeah, I think this is a good start, and hopefully this will garner a lot of attention to kind of get maybe hopefully their own series. But yeah, Kelly Thompson's awesome. This whole creative team was good. Definitely a worthy book to check out. Absolutely, it is.
You know, one thing that neither of you guys mentioned is right there on the first page. It shows all six, the recap page, all 6 Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
Only 2 of which are currently accounted for. Now, the Time Stone is in the hands of, I can't forget his name, but the kid from Wolverine in the Infinity Watch. He still has it. And frankly, I just assumed they were going to forget about that character, but shows what I know.
Hector Bautista?
Yes.
Is it Hector Bautista?
Yes.
I think so, it is, yeah.
Yeah. I could not remember his name for the life of me, but he's still got the Time Stone. Now this other newcomer has the Reality Stone, and it just makes me wonder. It looks like they're playing a long game of using the stones and their new wielders or newest wielders to introduce a lot of new characters into the universe as major players. I think that's actually pretty clever. Because, you know, the stones themselves are always important regardless of who has them. So, I mean, marry that to a new character, you've got an important new character. At least that'll, you know, that's what they hope for. I mean, you hope the character resonates. Star, for her part, really resonated with me. I like the fact that she's not, you know, she's really in a moral gray area. And I think that's a good thing because, like you were saying, Mike, setting her up as kind of Carol's opposite number, but not outright making her a cackling supervillain or a Venom knockoff of some sort, is pretty clever. Because Carol has a whole lot of gray in her character. You know, just a few years ago in Civil War II, she was not making good decisions. That's a conversation for another time as to how we don't want to go there. Get too sidebarred anyway. But you know, Star is right there in that gray area as well, except she kind of leans more towards not necessarily bad, but more in it for herself. And I mean, in that regard, she's a little bit more realistic of a character than a lot of comic book protagonists who, as soon as they get powers, either decide they must be good or must be bad. I mean, let's be honest. In the real world, if people started getting superpowers, the first thing they do is do for them, you know? So I like that aspect of her. It kind of it brings a kind of every woman quality to Star as a character. So that's pretty cool. And it gives her a unique position within the Marvel Universe that in the hands of a writer as talented as Kelly Thompson, who's just such a strong character writer, I think she's positioned, at least at the outset, to go really far as a character. And that's always exciting because, you know, it's harder and harder the longer Marvel Universe or DC Universe is around to break a new character and really have them resonate. So, I mean, fingers crossed that'll be Star. As far as the execution of the issue goes, I could have done without Loki, just mainly because I felt like it was the scene was deliberately staged to show just how powerful Star is, not necessarily that Loki had to be there for some reason. I mean, look, you go toe-to-toe with Titania in your first issue. You're pretty powerful, but I mean, we already know she has the Reality Stone. She's powerful. We don't need the Loki wedged in there to get that point across. But, I mean, other than that, I enjoyed this. I love the interactions with Jessica Jones. It made me want to go and check out Kelly Thompson's Jessica Jones miniseries, which I think is an online exclusive, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And, you know, just this is a really fun and surprisingly good first issue. My hat's off to the entire creative team for really selling me on the value of this new and relatively unexplored character. Guys, did you have any further thoughts on Star?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we talk too much about the art, but as great as Kelly Thompson does with Star, the visuals of this book are really spectacular. And I was really glad to see that because they were also really great in Captain Marvel. So you never want to see that like drastic transition in, you know, style or even quality when that spinoff happens. And this one was really awesome to see because though there are a lot of like Loki, maybe he wasn't necessary, it does offer some pretty cool opportunities for the visuals to shine because you get to see almost full page splashes of both Loki and Scarlet Witch at the end. And I think that kind of helps the book not necessarily stand out more, but it helps it kind of have like a wow moment a few times, and it creates a fun impact with the whole reading experience of it. And that is 100% the visuals. A lot of different artists actually on it. Javier Pina and Felipe Andrade, Jesus Arbatov doing the colors, and Clayton Cowles is pretty much an industry veteran on letters. So they're just solid all across the board. And everybody just kind of did a great job on this one, and it came together, it seems.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the colors as well. I thought it was definitely kind of like a side story, and it kind of helped, you know, like struggle, especially like in the beginning when Star was kind of at that, you know, the bad person's, you know, the bad superheroes cafe, and, you know, talking about ham and stuff like that. I just think the mood and the colors and all that stuff just kind of really resonated with the story and kind of helped out. It was really good.
Yeah, top-notch creative team all around. Marvel did not shy away and put any, and forgive the use of the term, but B-list artists or anything like that on this book. They really brought out a big gun, or big guns, I should say, in Pina and Andrade. So I mean, that to me it says that they've got faith in the project. Very cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Star #1 of 5. It's on sale right now in your local comic book shop. All right, so next up, we're talking about Batman 86, of course, from DC, written by James Tynion IV and Tony Daniel on art with Danny Miki on inks. It's the dawn of a new era. The city of Bane has fallen. Batman is back. We have a new writer on Batman for the first time in 86 issues and 3.5 years.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long. That's right. For some people, the previous run was highly divisive, and for them, their long nightmare is at an end. For others, it's the dawn of a new era, and it's just something new. So Batman 86 hits the ground running right off the bat with, forgive my pun, with Batman doing what he does best, stopping criminals. There is a gathering of assassins, including Cheshire, Malcolm Merlin, and most worrisome, Deathstroke, meeting together, plotting and scheming. But that's okay because Batman has new toys. And it's all the kickoff to a big story where Gotham is going to look completely different. Bruce Wayne is investing like never before in Gotham's infrastructure because he believes that he transformed Gotham into a city that does not need Batman. Pretty bold words. Mike, what say you?
Well, one, before I start my little monologue, I don't want a Gotham without Batman. So we'll just say that. But anyway, we'll just get this out of the way. Tom King obviously is no longer on Batman, right? Not a horrible run. I do appreciate your nightmare pun that you did, because that was probably the roughest, you know, couple of issues that he did. But anyway, so JT the Fourth is now writing Batman, right? And one thing that I want to say is struggled in a bad way, but as I read this issue a couple of different times, I really wanted to make sure my review of this wasn't just, oh, Tom King is not doing Batman anymore. I can't remember a time where Batman wasn't on my pull list. You even though I didn't enjoy all of the Tom King stuff, I still have. You know, it's there. It's going to happen. It's going to, you know, live on in Batman Infamy. But at the same time, this was it almost felt like we returned to a familiar Batman, right? We had the action, we had the, you know, the blood and the art and the creative team, where we kind of felt like every panel, you know, it was raining and Batman was depressed about something, and we could really just kind of take in everything Batman, right? He was pissed about something, and he was kind of stroking his enemies to hit him and fight him and make him bleed, and just his inner sorrow was ever present. I felt this issue kind of was a very easy transition from 85, right? Like, because I mean, you know, we saw the Joker in 85, and now we have his, you know, we ended kind of this issue with, you know, his henchmen, you know, blowing up the fun house, and kind of, you know, we had that the phone. Yeah, I would say it would be the phone. It was the phone message where, you know, Superman announced that he was Clark Kent. You know, does the Joker know that he's Batman type deal? So I have a feeling that, you know, JT is definitely going to maybe tease that. Is he going to be the one that leads Bruce to say, I'm Batman type deal? You know, we talked about this during the Superman, I believe it was issue 18 that we covered. What else is DC going to do with this now that the world knows that Superman is Clark Kent and Clark Kent is Superman? What else is the world going to know? And I think this kind of, I don't want to say it sets it up because it's way premature, but there's good speculation there.
Yeah, you can see how it would go there.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. I love the fact that you saw like Deathstroke and Merlin, who I felt like Mr. Teeth and Merlin, I felt kind of got the raw end of the deal, because they were pretty much, you had a panel. Merlin looked like, and I say this in the utmost respectable way because I can't draw, but he looked like the dollar store version of Wolverine in this episode. I can't draw stick people. So I say that with the utmost respect. But I wanted to see more-ish of Merlin and Mr. Teeth and all them. But in the end, we just got Bats, you know, throwing his toys out there, and now they're chasing, you know, shadows, and we got the next 4 or 5 pages of a really great, you know, battle scene with him and Deathstroke, which I thought was marvelous. I mean, that the art in those panels were great. But overall, I think this was good. For me, the only downside, I think, was just the dialogue at times seemed to be a bit much. You know, like you went from, you know, talking to like, okay, you know, you had, you know, Catwoman and Batman kind of doing their inner monologue, and then we had the dialogue and stuff like that, and it was just kind of a lot of back and forth that I felt that was like, it's a bit much. You know, are we just kind of almost like, I want to say overcompensating, but it just felt like, okay, a lot of people didn't like Tom King's Batman, so we're just going to fill a lot of fan lip service a little bit type deal. And overall, a great issue. I'm really intrigued. And I mean, as far as modern writing goes, I think, you know, Tinian knows Batman more than a lot of people that have wrote, you know, Batman, you know. So, I mean, this is definitely his neighborhood, his genre. But about the only thing I didn't really enjoy much was, like I said, it was just the dialogue. It just felt a bit much. And but yeah, it was good. Overall, it was good. It was very familiar. It was Batman. It felt good to kind of get back to that, like I said, that blood, that action, that depressing Batman that you felt, that, you know, that just like you, like, this is good. Like, it's dark. You know, Batman's a dark story. It's not supposed to be you know, back and forth and, you know, this and that. And I will say remiss, but, you know, before I, you know, hand it over that there's no more Thomas Wayne. Spoiler alert. But we don't have to worry about that anymore. But, you know, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Obviously, you know, it's Batman and it's good. It's, you know, a little Tom King hangover. But yeah, Tinian the Fourth is definitely, if you want someone writing Batman right now, I think that's what you, that's who you want writing Batman right now.
Yeah. Mike, I wonder, are you reading Justice League Dark by Tinian by chance?
Read the first couple of issues, but probably after I fell off about issue 7.
Okay, so I'll just say Tinian does write heavier scripts than a lot, if not most, modern comic writers. And I mean, good or bad, that's just generally his writing style. So I don't know if it was anything deliberate on his part to counteract the minimalism of the Tom King run. That's just my perspective anyway.
Right. Like I said, like writing wise, I definitely felt this was a return to a familiar Batman story. And maybe it was just because the first issue that he did, but it was just kind of, I don't know, maybe uncomfortable because you had the inner monologue and then you had the dialogue and stuff like that. But overall, it was great. I mean, you know, nothing really negative. It's more of like nitpicky type stuff.
Yeah. Hey, if you have to resort to nitpicking, it must have been good.
Yeah, pretty much, right.
Nick, what'd you think?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting book because for the casual Batman fan who really hasn't followed all of the events in the past few years, it's a great Batman book, but it's nothing like groundbreaking or revolutionary. He's not reinventing the wheel here. But if you followed the Batman saga that really has everybody talking with Tom King and the ending of his run, this book feels differently. But it's been discussed, it's almost like a palate cleanser because of the way it approaches the character and the mythos, and it uses Gotham as a character rather than, you know, Batman. And Tom King definitely approaches run differently. My personal favorite Batman is Scott Snyder's run. Snyder and Capullo, I feel like, just defined the character for me. So when we transitioned into Tom King's run, you know, it wasn't for me. So I have taken a Batman break for a little bit. It's been like 3 years now. And I picked up Batman 86, and it was just really, it was a lot of fun to dive back into Gotham again on that level and kind of enjoy a Batman book on that level. I was particularly excited for this one because Tinian had mentioned about wanting to return Batman to its action horror roots. And if you know anything about me, action horror is everything I want in life. Just give me all the action horror titles, movies, TV shows, just all of it. And I was a little sad this one didn't bring as much horror to it. A lot of Deathstroke action going on here and stuff like that. So maybe that's coming, the epilogue with, I guess, some of the Joker goons hints towards it because the art style played into the horror themes a little bit more. But overall, Batman 86 was, I think, exactly what the character needed right now. We don't need another experimental take on it. We don't need, you know, somebody trying to reinvent the character for a new group of fans. I love the phrase "a new era" because it very much is that. It's not quite as hyped as the Hickman reboot of the X universe and all of that. It's not really that. You're finding this in Batman 86, but it means so much. And I think, you know, what it means for the character and what DC does with the character going forward. It's a solid characterization of Batman that I think a lot of people can get behind. The dynamics with Catwoman are great. I'm ready for more of that. I don't know how I feel about Alfred being gone yet. I know ultimately, in my opinion, this feels like the move that writers make when they're trying to make their mark on the character, and, you know, something has to last after they leave. And somebody's going to deal with Alfred being gone. So that being that, Lucius Fox is awesome. Like,
Yeah,
him in that role, I was like, that made it better. I can handle this, because seeing Lucius it was great. He handled the role perfect, and the characterization again on him was just awesome. Like, just fell right into it. And there was an emotional moment where Batman slips up and asks for Alfred, and I thought, that there's just like a couple of panels there, but it really slows down, and that's where I think Tynion shines in those character moments. And it was just that slip up, and it's that nod to what Tom King has done, that legacy, and it's just handled really well. And that's ultimately my feelings on the whole book. When you close it, you're just excited, and it's nice to feel that way about a Batman book again. And then you get online, and everybody's just excited for more, and the reaction has been great to it. So, cool time to be a Batman fan. I'm excited for Tom King's Bat-Cat run, because that's going to have a lasting impact on this character. The dynamic that we see now with Batman and Catwoman has been developed for a long time through his run, and I think we're just kind of standing on those shoulders. So kudos to everybody involved, and great time to be a Batman fan.
It definitely is, and depending on what your taste skew towards, it's been a good time to be a Batman fan. There's definitely people that will always sing the praises of the Tom King run. It's won awards. It's gotten tons of industry praise. But I mean, slowly but surely, it was losing readers each month. And I'm sure that DC is very aware of that. And, I feel like the public's mood towards King's run soured after issue 50 with the stuntiness of the non-wedding. And, so it went. So, I mean, this was a really smart move to go back to basics on DC's part, and to tout it as such. I don't believe that's a slight or a rebuke against Tom King in any way, shape, or form. I personally have enjoyed most of the run. I do, definitely want to sit down and just read through it in one go at some point and see how it holds up in that regard. But I will say, as a bi-weekly comic, it was wearing on me, because it's been going for 3.5 years, and it was just time for something different. And if this back to basics approach, this return to Gotham by Tynion IV, is what different looks like, then man, give me more different. Because this was such a solid issue, and in a lot of ways, it kind of is by the numbers Batman. And that's not a problem in this case, though. Typically, we use that as a negative term, but this time, this was exactly to borrow the phrase you said, Nick, a palate cleanser was just exceptionally spot on. There's nothing truly new going on here, except for the fact that, yes, he's in mourning over Alfred, his father figure, and there's this underlying narrative of Bruce Wayne investing in Gotham and rebuilding it into what he imagines will be someday a Gotham that doesn't need Batman. What does that mean? What does that look like? What is this mysterious black box that he wants to take the captured would-be assassins to? I hope that it's not a retread of the recent villains prison in Teen Titans that was run by his son Damian, but I don't think it's a huge leap to maybe say it's something along those lines. I don't know, but who cares? I'm intrigued. Like, this was a really great setup issue. Damn, I'll tell you what. For my money, Tynion IV's run on Detective Comics at the beginning of Rebirth, hands down the best thing of the Rebirth era. Hands down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is quintessential Batman family. It is just stellar from start to finish. And if Tynion can tap into even a little bit of that with this run, man, he's got gold. and a ticket to ride, man. He's a hell of a talented artist. Like I was saying, he writes heavier scripts than a lot of modern comics, so he's something of a stands somewhat in contrast to a lot of modern voices, and that's okay because he's damn good at what he does. For those of you who don't know, he got his break by going to Scott Snyder's writer's school through DC a few years back, and that's part of why they've had such a strong collaborative yin and yang in the time that Tynion's been at DC. So, I mean, he learned from the best. Nick, you weren't joking about that Snyder and Capullo run being top-notch, some of the best Batman ever. We'll probably be talking about that being the run of the decade, 2-3 decades from now.
Or the Court of Owls is
a new decade, and we can talk about it now.
I already know. Like, I had down Court of Owls as one of the best Batman stories out there. Like,
which one? Court of Owls?
Yeah, Court of Owls.
Okay.
It doesn't get any better. I mean, this is
for my money, it's 0 year.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, woo!
And this is why the whole series is like that. I mean,
the whole series,
every arc.
Or an arc out of it and just gush about it for an entire episode.
Yeah, everything from Court of Owls to Endgame. It's just,
mm-hmm.
But not to take away from what Tynion's doing. I think we say this to say, these are the shoulders we're standing on from that run into Tom King's like widely praised run. Then you get this. That is just another evolution in that and another step up in the game.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
Kind of why I say it's a.
Well, and don't forget. Snyder followed up on Grant Morrison's run.
Yeah,
true. So
there's a lot to talk about Batman dips, but
strong Batman run.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, man, if you're a lapsed Batman fan, this is the time to come back. Check this book out. My God, the art's Tony Daniel. What more do you need to know about that? Jeez, he just makes everything look gorgeous, right?
Ooh.
He's come a long way in the best ways possible from his humble beginnings following Capullo on X-Force in the 90s. Yeah, that's right, Nick. More homework for you into the X-Men world.
All the time.
But, guys, do you have any final thoughts on Batman 86?
Just excited for more.
I mean, I don't want our watchers and readers and what have you to think that this was a Tom King bass sesh.
No.
Yeah, definitely not that. Like I said, I mean, the wedding and Nightmare arc was definitely my two huge complaints, but this is definitely a time to if you've been away from Batman because of Tom King, for whatever. I mean, the whole Tom King run wasn't bad.
No.
But absolutely not, it wasn't. But if you stepped off of Batman because of Tom King, now would definitely be the time to come back in, because you're definitely missing out. If you haven't read this issue, the art, the story, really a top-notch book. Absolutely was. And everything I said, negative was just my own, nitpicks and stuff like that. But this was definitely the Bat book to kind of reintroduce folks that may have stepped away because they were mad at the wedding, or they were mad at the Nightmare session, or maybe City of Bane didn't sit well with them, or what have you. Definitely come back. Coffee's hot. We can all sit around the table and talk bats and Moore and Alfred and stuff like that. I think Nick hit on Lucius being, obviously we know where they're going to take Lucius, but he is definitely more than willing to fill the role and stuff like that. So it's an exciting time to be a Batman fan, with JT the Fourth writing this and stuff like that. Oh, it can only go up. Excuse me, absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, all right, that was Batman 86 on sale now from DC Comics at your local comic store, Comixology. and maybe even a newsstand or two out there. So that's it for our reviews this week. Let's move on into the final segment, boys. What have you been reading? What are you looking forward to, Mike?
So I am still from the last show. I am still diving through the 400s of Batman and stuff like that. So we're just kind of being nostalgia and just kind of drumming through that. Looking forward to Undiscovered Country 3. For folks that haven't been following this, we covered it. We covered issue 1 on the show, and it has just been a good series. Especially with 3 coming up. Ace, know about the lands. What doesn't he know about the lands, and what is he going to lead the group to? If the folks want to wait till it's collected, fine. But definitely worth the jump on to get those individual issues now. Because as we hit on the show where we talked about Undiscovered Country 1, definitely probably going to be like Walking Dead. I Kill Giants, that obscure issue that you may or may not be able to find in the double digits. But definitely Undiscovered Country 3 is coming out. If you haven't been reading it, definitely worth a read. It's under the Image titles. Good to go.
Yeah, Undiscovered Country. We really like that book on this show. And it's... again, worth mentioning, it was Image's second biggest #1 of the entire decade. So, tells you something.
Absolutely amazing title. Definitely worth the read.
Totally. Nick, what have you been reading? What are you looking forward to?
All right, so what I've been reading, I'm going to give a shout out to a company that might get some fun conversations, as Zenescope. I've been catching up on some of their stuff, and for all the variant covers that they actually have some cool stories that are going on. They have like a lot of these that kind of function like Valiant. They're limited series, 5-6 issues, like Robin Hood Vigilante, the new Red Agent, Island of Dr. Moreau. Yes, that one, the animal-human hybrids. Monster Planet, Unbound. A lot of these that are action horror that I said I liked, it really taps into that vein. They're adult themes. The Grimm fairy tales is kind of what most people know them for, where they do the adult take on the fairy tales. But been catching up on a lot of their stuff and catching up on that universe, and it's actually kind of interesting. And I've really been, I haven't taken them all that seriously. I've just kind of read a book here and there, but I've actually been exploring like who they are as a company, and it's quite interesting to see their evolution and their stories and how that company has kind of found themselves in 2020 now, and all of their women characters and how they handle them. So it's a lot of fun reading and definitely worthwhile. But what I'm looking forward to, there's a new Spawn 304 that's coming out. I mean, how could I not be excited for that? It's McFarlane doing his thing with Spawn as a hero now. He's spreading out the hero universe. And really cool things. You got She-Spawn coming in, so I'm excited for that. I feel like we're kicking off the year kind of slow with the big two. So there's not a whole lot that is coming up immediately that I'm just super ready for. It seems like, we're hitting that point where summer blockbuster events are about to be announced. Probably within the next few months, we'll kick that cycle off. And right now it's just kind of hanging out on the weekly releases like Batman 86. And that's the sort of thing that gets you through week to week, right?
Well, all right. Awesome. And good on you for checking out an indie publisher that a lot of people might not have on their radar. So I've been reading the post-John Byrne Fantastic Four stuff, mostly just out of curiosity. For those of you who don't know, Byrne got mad at Jim Shooter and just left in the middle of an arc after about 60 issues on the book. And all of a sudden, they had to put the damn book back together. So Roger Stern jumped in as writer, finished that arc off. Jerry Ordway was on the art. And you know what? It's fine. It's a fun little. If you want to read just some good kind of run of the mill, inoffensive Fantastic Four, you can't go wrong with it. You know, you've got John Buscema with his brother Sal inking on the art later on. And, you know, it's not bad. And it's right before the very notoriously weird Steve Englehart run that came a couple years after that. So, you know, if you're an FF fan, you want to find something cool in the dollar bins, you can do a hell of a lot worse. What am I looking forward to? After a month off between the penultimate issue and number 12, we at last have the final issue of DC's Freedom Fighters. Oh my God, this book has been epic. Writer Robert Venditti has just been on absolute fire with this thing. He's having a hell of a moment between that and Hawkman, and now he's going to succeed Scott Snyder on Justice League. This book is exactly what America needs to be reading right now. Let me just tell you, I will put it that way, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Freedom Fighters kicks all the right asses. Damn right. Punch a Nazi, man. So, yeah, that's me. But, gentlemen, I think that that's our show. So this has been episode 61 of the Comic Watchers. Thank you so much for listening. The Comic Watchers show is a part of comic-watch.com, pro news and reviews written by fans for fans. You can find episodes, this and past episodes of this show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Podbean. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.